Good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started with this, June 9th, 2026 TPO Technical Committee. Got a short agenda today, but we do have a couple presentations, so look forward to those. Looks like we do have a quorum today, so that is good. We will do brief introductions, so let's start here with Mike.
All right.
We'll run around.
Mike Conger, TPO staff.
Craig Lipke, TPO staff.
Dallas DeArmond, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Jack Wall, Steve Loudon, Loudoun County.
James Temple, Sevier County.
Chico Messer, Blount County.
Daryl Smith, Town of Farragut.
Brian Boone, City of Maryville Engineering and Public Works.
Doug Burton, TPO coordinator.
Jim Snowden, Knox County Engineering and Public Works.
Amy Brooks, Knox County Planning.
Dakota Gentry, City of Alcoa.
Troy Everett, TDOT.
Catherine Baldwin, Anderson County.
Larry Gann, City of Clinton.
Nancy Welch, I'm here for Knox County CAC.
Blake Sarton, Metro Knoxville Airport Authority.
Danielle Myers, Tennessee Vans.
Ekema Mondelatsen for the East Tennessee Development District.
Thank you so much for your attendance today. Dallas, do we have anybody on Zoom or virtual today?
We have Matt Meservey from TDOT and Kara Greathouse from FHWA.
All right, welcome aboard. Doug, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Not today.
Okay, seeing no other amendments. Item 2 on the agenda is motion to approve the minutes from the May 12, 2026 Technical Committee. Hope when everyone's had a chance to review those. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. That item's approved. Number 3, I-40, I-75 corridor linkages, Pell study. We appreciate TDOT being here and giving us an overview of this project. Everybody, I'm sure, is eager to hear. So with that, I'll introduce Jason. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning. Happy to be here this morning. We're excited to be here this morning. As most of you know, we've been working on this Pell study, West Knoxville corridor Pell study, for the past couple of years. I think we started back in late 2024, I believe. And the last time we were here to update you, I think, was fall of last year. So a lot's happened since then. We have a new regional director, Amanda Snowden. Some of you may know her. Apparently the Knicks are good at basketball. That's happened. And Brad and his team at STV have been working diligently on this study. And we have some updates for some of the alternatives that they've been evaluating for you today. And we're very excited to be moving on. We anticipate being done with this study later this year, fall. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Brad, and he's going to update you on the work we've done.
Thank you, Jason. It's always good to be back here as a former TPO employee back in the day. So yeah, as Jason mentioned, had a lot going on since we last met, and kind of want to come and give you all an update on where we are, the various alternatives we've been looking at and considering, and then also some information about some upcoming important public meetings. So first thing we'll do is just a quick overview. There's a lot of slides, so bear with me, okay? But we'll run through these early ones pretty quick, because a lot of these things I think you all are familiar with. But essentially, it's a planning environmental linkages study. Some of the benefits, it's designed to make for cohesive decision making, make for a process that ultimately accelerates things when it comes to the NEPA process when these projects move forward. It ensures public input throughout the process, and then also kind of lays the groundwork for some innovative transportation solutions that TDOT is currently looking at. But you can see here the wheels of the cog, it's all intended to kind of work together and flow together, which ultimately results in a better product at the end of the day. Bottom line is we're taking a comprehensive approach at this, not just a one-off, hey, we've got some congestion there, let's go widen it. Let's see a full holistic approach to the corridor and how this thing really needs to be improved. The other thing I want to remind you of is what's called a statutory Pell approach. We're following that process, which intends to basically adopt the planning products and recommendations from this study into the NEPA process, which is consistent with the Title 23 U.S. Code 168. So just want to kind of remind you of that as well. Most of you all have seen this before, the study area. You can see it is a large study area. While we are focused on how to improve the I-40, I-75 main line in West Knoxville, while we were looking at that 17 miles of that piece of it, one of the alternatives we're considering kind of goes outside that as a potential, you may recall the bypass that was looked at several years ago. So that's why the study area is as large as what you see there. So update on kind of where we're at now, where we're headed. So to date, completed documents, framework and methodology agreement, the purpose and need report. Those are some of the main ones. The alternative screening methodology, which is basically how we go about screening those. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a little while. All those ones with an asterisk are things that are FHWA coordination points. So it's where we actually have to take those documents and get those to FHWA for their review. Some of the others and things that are in progress right now, we are currently in the process of screening the alternatives to determine which ones kind of sort of start to rise to the top. And then we'll be developing the alternatives evaluation report. And the next steps, round 2 of the public meetings that I'll talk about in just a second, and the project prioritization and phasing report, and ultimately the Pell study report. So I don't think this would come as a surprise to anyone. These are basically some congestion maps for the 2055 no-build conditions. So if we don't do anything else, this is our situation. As you can see, there is a ton of red on this map, both in the morning and the afternoon, which indicates they are well over capacity. And then you've also got basically there's really hardly any green there. Let's be honest. So it's not a pretty picture in the future. So which really is one of the driving factors behind this whole project and why we're doing this. Speaking of why we're doing this, the purpose, address congestion, improve travel times, and then also enhancing the system modernization. So this corridor, in some areas, there are some parts of this corridor that really haven't been touched in many years. In some cases, interchanges haven't been touched since they were built for the most part. So that's a part of this purpose of this project as well. So back in the fall, several of you, I'm sure, came to some of these meetings. We had a round of public meetings. A round of 3 public meetings. We had 181 people attended those in person. We did a survey, which resulted in about 3,700 actual survey responses. Of those 3,700 responses, all the questions combined resulted in about 35,000 different pieces of input for the study. We had 39 what we call official comments submitted, meaning people wrote on a TPOt comment form or sent in a comment directly to the TPOt email. And then we had about 3,800 website views during the public meeting process. Some of the themes that came out of that, I don't think these will come as a shock to many of you. Congestion and bottlenecks obviously was a theme, ramp and merge safety. Places with short merge lanes and where you have interchanges that are closely spaced together. You've got a lot of interchanges close on this corridor. The need for infrastructure upgrades such as adding lanes, redesigning interchanges to address some of those things we just talked about. Truck traffic, way stations, particularly resulting in slowdowns and weaving movement in the corridor. And then we also heard about some interest in some more multimodal transit options. We had heard mention of commuter rail. We heard mention of express buses and park and ride facilities and those types of things as well. What I do want to mention here is our next series of public meetings has been scheduled. So Monday, June 29th at Pellissippi State. These will all be from 5 to 7 Eastern Time. Tuesday, June 30th at the Knoxville Public Works Service Center. And Wednesday, July 1st at the Farragut Community Center. You can see the addresses for each of those up there. These may sound familiar to you if you went to the last round of meetings because they're in the same locations we had at the last round. So let's get into what you all are probably more interested in hearing, and let's talk about the alternatives and what we've been looking at. So the alternatives are based on the way we developed the alternatives. We looked at existing and future conditions data, obviously, to see what the data was telling us. We took into account the first round of public and stakeholder input as we got into this, seeing what they had mentioned to make sure we weren't missing anything with the data. And then also prior study recommendations. There were multiple studies that have been done on this corridor before, so we looked at those as well to see what types of recommendations were in there. So the alternatives considered, you can see here there are general purpose lanes, and what that is basically a widening, general purpose lane widening throughout the corridor, what you call a collector distributor network. I'll get into these in more detail in just a second. Choice lanes, you may have heard about those. I-75 bypass, the transportation system management operations alternative, targeted approach, and then an express bus, and I'll explain each of these in just a second. So for the general purpose lanes, this is probably pretty much exactly what you would think it is. This is, for most of the corridor, you add one general purpose lane in each direction. This is your traditional widening project, I'll call it. Some of the benefits for this, it does add capacity. It would help improve travel time, modernizing some of the aging infrastructure as we go through and widen the road. We can address a lot of those issues. Some of the challenges, you're going to hear these are kind of recurring themes. Right-of-way impacts, environmental considerations, obviously construction impacts while it's under construction in terms of maintenance of traffic. And then the big one there is funding sources would need to be identified. The next one is your collector distributor roads. This is basically what we looked at was an attempt to consolidate some of the entrance and exit points for the ramps and kind of separate those from the interstate travel lanes by a barrier so that people can get off on one end and touch multiple interchanges down through there to get distributed off of the interchanges and onto local traffic and local roads. The idea here is it separates some of the weaving movements that occur throughout these areas where you have close interchange spacing, as well as friction of traffic entering and exiting the interchange ramps. The benefits, it does reduce the number of locations where weaving movements occur. Some of the challenges is it did not appear to initially substantially reduce congestion. It does have right-of-way impacts, again, environmental considerations, and again, funding sources would need to be identified for this as well. Choice lanes. Many of you have probably heard about this. This is moving forward right now in Nashville on the I-24 corridor. Essentially, choice lanes would be an addition of a barrier-separated choice lanes. Would be 2 lanes in each direction, while keeping all existing general purpose lanes open to everyone. So every lane that's out there now, that does not change. That stays open to everyone. These lanes are built oftentimes in the middle, center running, or on the outside, or in some cases they could be elevated. The idea of the choice lanes is it uses dynamic pricing to basically help manage that demand and provide that travel time reliability that people are looking for, particularly during peak periods. Again, motorists do have the choice of using the existing lanes like they are now without doing any type of fee or anything like that. Benefits here, does add capacity. It helps to improve some travel times. It gives commuters choices for how they want to travel the corridor. One of the big benefits here is it does leverage the ability to use the Transportation Modernization Act funding, so things like a P3 that are now eligible for this type of project to help basically pay for it. Challenges, obviously it has greater right-of-way impacts because of you're adding 2 more travel lanes in each direction. There are locations where there's, if you're familiar with the corridor, there's some TVA transmission lines that are out there that are a pretty big deal. We try to avoid those at all costs, but there are some there that we may have to deal with. Again, the environmental considerations and the funding sources are informed by the type of delivery. Again, that goes back to the ability to do a P3 on a project like this, public-private partnership. Then we have the I-75 bypass. I want to point out here, this is just you can see this is a kind of a broad corridor that's outlined in yellow up there. It's kind of tough to see on your screen, but it's not intended to be a specific alignment. This is basically for us to identify connecting points for the traffic analysis side of things that has to be done. So I just want to point that out, but this generally gives you an idea of what we looked at. Excuse me. The bypass, it's a 25-mile long relocation. Basically, we'll call it a relocation of I-75. Right now, I-75 obviously joins up with I-40 and runs through Knoxville. This would be a 25-mile relocation of that to run it north of town from the I-40, I-75 system interchange on the west side to I-75 up around Raccoon Valley Road. It goes kind of to the north of Edgemore Road and back kind of along the river there, just to kind of give you a ballpark idea there. It's a 70-mile-per-hour design speed, so this is a full-blown interstate facility. We looked at some of the benefits there. We're still, want to point out this is all still being analyzed and more closely, but congestion reduction for the bypass, we had about 8% average reduction in traffic on the I-40, I-75 mainline corridor for the entirety of the corridor. Again, I want to point out that's an average for the whole corridor, the whole 17 miles. So as you can imagine, that percentage of traffic diversion is greater on the west side of the corridor than it is as you move closer toward downtown Knoxville. As you move closer toward down Knoxville, you're more prone to just go up I-75. About 16% reduction in the average truck traffic for the corridor. So that's that I-75 impact, if you will, where it's pulling trucks off of the mainline corridor. It does provide additional regional mobility. We know there are some traffic-related issues along that area, and so it does provide some additional regional mobility there. Some of the challenges, you might imagine, is substantial right-of-way and community impacts that go through that corridor. Environmental considerations will be a big deal there, just like they are on the others. It really doesn't do anything as far as modernizing the existing corridor, which is part of one of the purposes of the project. And obviously, this is another one where the funding sources would need to be identified. There's no funding for a project like this right now. A lot of words on the screen here. If you're familiar with transportation systems management and operations, there's not a good way to show that on a screen. But essentially what this is a lot of technology type solutions. This includes things like ramp metering, variable speed limits, increased closed circuit television and dynamic message signs that you have out there now, but increased in density of those to help with incident management, those types of things. Connected automated vehicle infrastructure and V2X, which is called vehicle to everything technology. These are really things that on the side of the road collect data and provide these to the travelers so that they're aware of what's going on in real time. It can even talk to the travelers about traffic signals, let them know what the timings are looking like and those types of things so people know when lights will change. At the end of the day, this one is really more intended to be a complementary alternative to some of the other larger alternatives we're looking at. This is not one that's going to really improve traffic operations enough like we need it to for the main line of the interstate. It will improve traffic operations to an extent. The good thing there is it can do so without major construction, so you're not tearing up the entire corridor to do it. You have the ability to implement this more quickly than a traditional construction project. It does certainly enhance incident management, response times, and safety. But the idea here is, again, it would support the other alternatives we're looking at. It doesn't, because it does not address long-term capacity needs of the corridor. So it has kind of some limited effectiveness as far as a standalone solution goes. The next one we'll talk about is a targeted approach. So the targeted approach is one that kind of was born. Yes. Oh, thanks, Jason. Thank you. Take a breath for a second. The targeted approach is one that was kind of born out of the TSMO alternative, if you will. It's kind of a late bloomer. What we realized is we had some things in the TSMO approach that included things like collector distributor roads and spot locations, not throughout the entire corridor like we looked at for the full CD alternative. So what we did is we looked at these as in some specific locations to see if maybe that would help us, accomplish what we want to accomplish at kind of a lower cost solution. Still not low cost by any means, but lower cost. This one was intended to really ease traffic where congestion occurs the most. So looking at some of the hot spots, we looked at the 640 interchange with I-40, Watt Road, some of those locations, the area there with Walker Springs and Bridgewater, some of those areas. We looked at all those to see if there's some spot locations we could do some improvements on. The benefit there is a lower cost approach. There's fewer right-of-way impacts because you're not doing something in the entire corridor. It does look at ways to, and it would help with some safety and some congestion to an extent. And it also would still allow us to modernize that existing infrastructure. Challenges, you're still going to have environmental considerations where those locations are at because you are doing things like widening the road to accommodate the CD roads. It's not really a comprehensive solution, like I said, that's going to necessarily improve congestion throughout the entire corridor. And then again, with this one, funding sources are going to need to be identified. The last one we look at, because we did hear from the public on some interest in some transit multimodal solutions, we did look at, well, you know, would express bus be something we can consider here? The idea behind the express bus, it would provide fast, limited stop services operating on the main line, utilizing, you know, a park and ride lot on one end and the other. It would use the existing roadway infrastructure to do that on the I-40/75 main line. It would expand the travel choices for commuters without doing really roadway expansion. And the idea here is it would connect to the regional employment centers on the west end and then closer to downtown. The issue with this is just it's not something that'll be enough to address congestion, which is one of the purposes of the project. It really doesn't address the travel times necessarily, and it doesn't do anything as far as modernizing the system goes. As you might imagine, since we're not touching really making improvements to the interstate itself. So, next slide. We're close, I promise. Almost done. The alternative screening process. So, want to call your attention to this because right now we're in the middle of this screening process. Essentially what happens, we take the study goals, we take the purpose and need of the project, we develop this full range of preliminary alternatives like I've shown you all here today. We take this through what we call a fatal flaw evaluation. From that, the number of alternatives get narrowed down and they go into level 2, which is the reasonable alternative screening. And then from there, you get your preliminary Pell recommended alternatives. And so that's where we're at right now. We're literally going through that process as we speak. People back in the office working on these things. So, next step, we're going to continue that screening process. We will develop the preliminary recommended alternatives. As I mentioned earlier, we do have the public meetings that are coming up. And then we will have the final Pell study report, which, as Jason mentioned, is anticipated here in the fall to kind of wrap these things up. One thing I want to mention here is that in order to comply with the statutory Pell conditions I mentioned earlier, you basically have about 5 years for this document to remain valid, so that once this process gets completed, things move into the NEPA phase. You've got about 5 years to wrap up that. So, with that, I will take questions. So thank you for your time and patience as I work through those. A lot of information, I know.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Does anybody have any questions for him?
So you said five years on the study validity. Is that to the point where construction has to begin, or is that just where they begin the right-of-way purchasing, or?
Essentially, just to get you through the NEPA process. So, okay. Yeah, it's essentially to get through the NEPA process for whatever alternative ultimately moves forward. Yes.
When we talk about funding for the choice lanes, what would the funding source be?
What would be funding? I'm sorry?
The funding source.
Well, one thing about choice lanes, it does open up the opportunity for P3, public-private partnerships, which is how that's being done in Nashville. Essentially, a private entity concessionaire, if you will, comes in and funds the construction of the project. Yeah, and then they recoup their costs through the user fees.
And then how is it maintained?
I believe in that case, Landy, TDOT maintains those, yes.
So a private entity builds and gets the revenue off of it.
That's how they essentially recoup their costs.
Yeah. TDOT maintains the
That's
revenue.
my understanding, yes. Yeah.
And what is the funding source for the alternative route?
The bypass? alternative? That has not been identified yet, because you can't, you wouldn't be able to use that type of funding for it. Would have to be state, federal funds.
And state and federal?
Could be federal, yeah.
Okay.
Could be.
And what was the funding source for 840 around Nashville?
That I don't know. Not sure. I don't know if anybody from TDOT would. The funding source for 840 in Nashville? I know it started out as a state route and got converted to interstate
It was
route.
100% TDOT money.
Okay, gotcha.
It was 100%.
Well, it started out, this is Matt, it started out as state, but it was converted to federal.
At what point? After construction?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I was told we can get you that information.
It was 100% funding, the construction was. The interstate designation was not provided until after the roadway was completed. And it was 100% Tennessee state monies.
Could you talk a little bit more about the traffic, the truck traffic? I heard.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so that's, the trucks would continue to be able to use, at least as it stands right now, the Nashville project, trucks are able to use the corridor, the choice lanes, yes.
Up to a certain size axle.
Yeah.
I'm confirming the class on that right now. I wanted to go back to your question. I misspoke. TDOT will still own the road if it becomes a choice lane, but the developer would operate and maintain them throughout the concessionaire agreement. So I just wanted to be clear on that. And it's up to class 10 for the axle.
Up to class 10 for the axles.
Above that would be prohibited. So what was the percentage?
So we're looking at the bypass would be an average of about 16% reduction in truck traffic.
And that's the entire corridor.
The entire corridor.
So what about the portion closer to where the merge? Do you have like details?
I can get that information. I don't have that information with me right here. My guess is, so to give you an idea, I know for all traffic, as you get further on the west end of the corridor, it's about 13%. And then as you go more, further east, it obviously goes down to give you an average of 8%. The truck percentage will be very similar. So I would say, you're probably, maybe 20%. I don't know. I'm just guessing here, but yeah. Sure.
And I may have missed this in the bypass there. So it's proposed for a 4-lane, 2-lane in either direction.
That's correct. Yes.
What would be what are you thinking you're talking about having the distribution of traffic, but what is your, I guess, projected ADT if you were to do that?
I always hesitate to do that when you're using models, doing ADTs, but generally speaking, it's around anywhere from 20,000 to 40,000, depending on where you're at in the corridor. Yeah.
So that 16% number, 16% of what? Is that 100?
16% of total trucks.
What's the total ATD at that location? I mean, let's just
There are
average it
places
out.
in the corridor, the ADT in the corridor, in some places reaches 200 up to 205,000 cars a day.
So it's 16% of that number. If you're
Not taking 16%, just 16% of the trucks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Which I don't know the exact trucks off the top of my head. Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, sure. No, I understand. Yeah, trying to put it all in relativity. Yeah. So yeah, it's anywhere, Jim, back to your question, it's anywhere from, 15, 20,000 on the east end to more as you go on the west side, upwards of 30, 35,000 or so. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are there going to be any exits off the bypass?
There would, if the bypass were to move forward, there are exits there. There are 6 total, the 2 system interchanges and 4 on each end, right? And then 4 in the middle, in between. Yeah. One of those of which would be at Pellissippi Parkway.
Do the Watt Road scales go away eventually?
Oh, yes, that question. So right now, we've got those included as part of the overall TSMO alternative, Transportation System Management and Operations. There is some very detailed modeling that has to be done that we're working on that will give us a better indication of what exactly, if you take those out, what's going to happen. I will tell you right now, as far as all the analysis we've done, and this is not to say they're not going away, but for purposes of our analysis, we want to make sure we took into account the worst case scenario, and that is assuming that they would stay. Okay, that does not mean that they're staying. That does not mean they're going. It just, that's how we approach the analysis. But we are working through some things with some interchange studies for Watt and Campbell that will look at, if we remove those, does it really change the weaving movements like we think it will? You know, so.
Brad, we've seen this a couple different times, and it may be just the way the study framework works, but it kind of comes across that these are all independent solutions. But isn't there a chance there could be a combination of things? Like you could say, we do need more technology, we do need express routes, but we're also going to have to widen in certain areas.
Yeah. So Doug, that's a great question, Doug. So actually, the TSMO alternative in particular is one of those where it would certainly be a quote complementary alternative where parts of that would go into, say, if you, let's say you widen the whole corridor, right? Then those certain pieces, parts of that would go into that. There could be a scenario where there could be some things combined. For example, another one would be where we're looking at this targeted approach. There are things where we're looking at, we're doing CD roads in certain locations. We're making ramp improvements in certain locations. That's in that targeted approach kind of, which is more of a approach of what you're talking about, some combination of things. Yeah. But yeah, that certainly could ultimately be a possibility. Yeah.
And then the choice lane one seems like it's the one that has the biggest footprint, more lanes, more everything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But is there an option? Does the analysis, would you say, while you need all that, we're not quite to the point where a private financer would pick this up. So we're kind of caught in no man's land where we need the capacity, but we know that that's not an option that can actually be financed by the private industry. So then we're kind of...
The choice lanes have got a long way to go. And the reason I say that, when I say a long way to go, I don't mean like, in terms of us figuring out what the potential traffic impacts are, that doesn't have a long way to go, right, as far as what this study is looking at. But if the choice lanes were to move forward, there's still a whole process that has to go. There's more model iterations from a traffic and revenue standpoint. There's industry forums that have to occur to talk to the private sector.
In the NEPA process.
Yeah, and of course the NEPA process too. It's still subject to NEPA. Yeah.
So an outcome is you need that, but we can't find, it would not be viable to be actually funded by a private entity.
If a concessionaire can't do it or can't make it work, can't make the dollars work, in other words.
So then would the state actually consider doing choice lanes on their own, or is that then you would just return back to the study because that's not a viable option?
I am not going to touch that one. I'm going to let someone else address that one. I don't want to be on the record for
Hey,
that.
Amanda Snowden. So the purpose of our PAL, which we've talked a whole lot about, is coming with a comprehensive plan for how we want to attack our West Knoxville corridor. So the study will identify the alternatives and see, is there some crossing that we need to do? There's not just one alternative. You're right, Doug. We're going to be looking at all of those. And if there is some connectivity in those, how does that work? The study also will look at funding options. We're focused on those three outcomes. Does it address congestion? Does it improve travel times? And is it for system modernization? So it'll look at all of those. The next steps of that is the funding piece, which we're all talking about, right? In transportation world right now, how are we funding our transportation? So no matter which alternative is chosen, the funding does have to be talked about. If it is a choice lane, those P3 options do come into play, and those are typically 50-year leases on our system. TDOT is the owner. We remain the owner. We're going to own our system. But those developers come in and they operate and maintain those for under a 50-year lease, if that's what's going on. Brad mentioned I-24. The department's moving forward with some of that in our Nashville, and it's new to Tennessee. So we're all learning. So there are a lot of questions. And believe me, we're going to come back and be able to answer those questions as we learn more about it in the East Tennessee area as well. Okay? Does that help? Hopefully that helps.
I have a question. So if you add additional lanes, that would relieve the congestion for everyone. If you add choice lanes, that would only relieve congestion for the folks who can afford to use it. What is the disparity there? What is the?
I think there are some studies that will show the addition of choice lanes also improve travel times for the general purpose lanes. There is a percentage increase in what that travel time is. Brad, do you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to say, yeah, it's, the intent of the choice lanes is not to just relieve congestion for just the people who can use it. Obviously, that would be a product of that, right? But the idea is people that use the choice lanes, that is pulling traffic off of the main line that would normally, and then that would essentially reduce, the idea is it would reduce traffic on the main lines as well, on the regular lanes.
But it would obviously reduce traffic for everyone if the lanes were owned and operated and it wasn't, private entity was not involved. So that's the answer I'm looking for is.
Sure, I mean, if you widen the road, that gives capacity to everyone. You're exactly right.
And,
Yes.
and what is do you have a number on how that would, I don't know, speed time for everyone as opposed to just a few?
Yeah, so we're actually looking at them as a whole. So what we do is, through the modeling process, we take a look at if you do choice lanes, right, it looks at, first of all, it doesn't just look at how much traffic's going to use those lanes. It also looks at the induced demand. So in other words, planners in the room, y'all are familiar with induced demand, right? As you pull traffic, as you add capacity, it pulls traffic from other roads that may be overcapacity. For example, Kingston Pike. People that normally use Kingston Pike, now they're going to come over and use the interstate. So it looks at that also. But to your point, our models, we're looking at, how many vehicles use the choice lanes, and therefore how many vehicles then, as a result of that pulls off of the main line. And so it has the ability to show you the benefit of both, in other words. So yes, that's the process. We're very close to wrapping up right now.
I think any move that would pull capacity off Kingston Pike would be a win for everybody because it's also a parking lot.
I don't disagree with you there. And that's why the modeling, that's why we looked at that induced demand to see, essentially what would happen, because that's what happens, right? We all know how many times you've seen it. You widen a road and then 3 years later it's full again, right? It's because people say, oh, that road's moving a lot quicker now. I'm going to go use that instead of my normal route that's slower. So, yeah.
I do have a question about the modeling. Does it take in consideration 321 and how the traffic is starting to migrate toward Maryville, using that as a kind of a bypass?
Using 321 as a bypass? Well, the model would, and Mike, you're a modeling guy, but yes, it would certainly take into account. We run the full travel man model.
That's part of the network. It did take that in.
Oh yes, yeah. 321 is part of the model network. Yes. Okay. Yep.
My other question was, do you typically allow transit buses on the choice lanes?
Yes. Typically, that's the direction at the one in Nashville, and that would be the direction here. I think that's the state's approach to that. So that's they use, it's free to them to use. Yeah. So it opens up that possibility as well. Whereas right now, I know CAT does not run a line on I-4075, and honestly, for reliability purposes, if I had to guess, that would potentially change this and allow them to run an express route on that corridor.
What is the difference between a choice lane and a toll lane?
So a toll lane, you're required to use a toll lane, right? So if you go up north, or it doesn't have to be up north, anywhere, that's just where I'm used to driving on toll lanes, right? You go up there, and let's say you're going across a bridge, right? You have no choice but to pay that toll to go across that bridge. You have no choice but to use that road. A choice lane is just that. You do have a choice. You can continue using the same road, same lanes that are there now without paying any type of fee, right? Or you can choose to use the new lanes that would require a dynamic user fee. That question I know TDOT has gotten a lot over the past couple of years. So, yeah.
What is the rate for utilization of a choice lane? Like you're under construction on I-24. Do you have the anticipated amount that you would charge folks using that route?
It's dynamic pricing.
Yeah.
So it would change upon, the time of day, how many people are using the choice lane at that time, and also how long you would use the choice lane. So depending on when you enter the choice lane at a different access point and how far you go, it will vary. So if I got on at point A, but you got on at point B, and we both enter at point C at various points of the day, it would be different.
What ballpark?
We don't have that yet. It would be determined.
Oh, are we talking 50 cents or are we talking $5?
Yeah, that's,
That
yeah, it's,
I mean, that
They don't
seems
even
like
have that
a
in the
key issue in terms of even consideration is how expensive would this be for the general public? And is it going to be high enough that the only a choice few could use it?
I'll tell you the
No
intent.
pun intended.
The intent of it, of course, is to basically set the dynamic pricing so that you can maintain a consistent speed, right? So as congestion or as the utilization of those choice lanes goes up, then obviously the price goes up to use that. To your question, is it 50 cents or is it $5? They don't even, the Nashville project is obviously very far along, and that's not even been established on that project yet.
There's no ballpark, no.
So Brad, I have two things. If you want to speak, can you come up here so everybody could hear you? Because they can't hear you outside of here. And then this is kind of going along with it. My understanding on this is there'd be a guaranteed minimum speed in the choice lane. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe it's 45. It's either 45 or 50 miles an hour.
Okay. And if it fell below that average for the time that you're on that section, then something changes with the fees
then
or something
the
along
pricing
that.
structure changes to
Okay.
be able to.
It's similar to like Charlotte, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you're Northwest Corridor in Atlanta, if you're familiar with that,
Right.
yeah, similar to that.
Do you know what the price is for Atlanta or Charlotte?
I drove last night from the Atlanta airport home, so I've used the express lanes in Atlanta before. Last night it was free flow on I-70. I was there at 10:30 p.m., 11 p.m. So free flow on the main line. They were charging $2 to use the express lane north of Atlanta. So obviously, I saw no benefit of spending $2 to save no time. So I didn't use those, but I have before. It's helped down there. I have a toll tag thing in our car.
What have you paid before during peak period?
I think it was like $4.50 or $5, which to me was worth it to bypass all these people sitting on I-75. But theirs are reversible down there, so I don't know how this would not be a reversible situation. I don't know how they determine which way to run their lanes because I've seen it clogged in both directions, and I've been on the clogged side. I was like, I'd like to get over.
I don't know how they do that down there, honestly.
Yeah,
I agree.
So, just my.
It's based on time of day.
Time of day.
I go to Atlanta often, so I see that visiting family. It's usually like a few bucks for the whole stretch. That may be around 20 miles. So if you're only going a couple exits, maybe $1.
But if you're going during the PM peak daily, you're looking at $5 a day.
That was my experience, and it was like maybe a 4-mile stretch south of the city that time. So it's very limited. I don't go through there that often.
Well, we appreciate TDOT and Brad, STV coming out. I would say, as somebody that maintains a lot of the roads, that when congestion does get on I-40, they get on our roads. So I know Darrell and me and Tom, we appreciate the effort you all are doing because it's going to help us all avoid congestion on I-40 as well as a lot of the surface streets that the locals maintain. So we appreciate your all's time and answering our questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Make sure I'm on the right item here. Item number 4 is the commuter trends in Knoxville combined statistical area. And it looks like Miss Emily's going to talk to us about this.
Did you close? You have to close out of his.
Oh.
Because it's still up. Why do we have like 10 PowerPoints open? Close. Okay.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Emily Jackson. I'm a research assistant on staff at TPO. My main presentation today is a demonstration on how to use our commuter trends dashboard. But first, I want to talk a little bit about why we built the tool and also provide an update on some population data from the Census Bureau. Let's start with population updates. Some of you may have heard our region has experienced significant growth in recent years. The most recent data from the Census Bureau, which was released just in May, estimates the population of the Knoxville MSA, which is shaded in green there on that map, to be 968,000 residents as of last year. So since 2020, the MSA has grown by over 60,000 people. This is like adding an entire extra Roane County to the population in 5 years. The average county growth rate was 6.8% for the entire MSA, but many counties, or several, did significantly more growth, like Loudoun down there did 15.6% over the last 5 years. And the city of Knoxville surpassed 200,000 residents, which is a huge milestone. So let's get into commuting. Our staff updates this graphic every year with the latest data from the Census Bureau. Some of you may have seen a version of it before in the past, but I will go over it just in case. So the white arrows you see over each county represent the number of commuters who live and work in the same county. So if you look at Sevier County on the bottom right, you'll see about 25,000 residents both live and work in Sevier County. The blue arrows represent the flows of commuters out of Knox County. So again, taking Sevier as an example, 6,200 commuters go from Knox County to Sevier County for work. And the green arrow shows that 9,000 commuters from Sevier County go to Knox County for work. This table takes that idea from the map I just showed and expands it to include comprehensive flow data for all counties in the MSA. For example, if you wanted to know the number of individuals who live in Sevier County and work in Roane County, we would identify this. Can you see my cursor? Okay, no. We would identify the live in county, Sevier County column and the work in Roane County row and see that 103 people make that commute. The yellow highlight just emphasizes the workers who live and work in the same county. We get our data for our commuter figures from the Census Bureau, and they have a data tool that kind of allows you to explore commuter flows on a very granular level, a block level. Like in this example where you can see the concentration of workers in Knox County. You can see in the light purple shading, workplaces are scattered throughout the county pretty evenly. But we can observe that workplaces tend to be located more densely along major transportation corridors like 40 and 75, Clinton Highway. And there's also a significant concentration around downtown Knoxville and on UT campus. So those are some pretty interesting insights. We thought we might be able to make a commuter dashboard that incorporates elements of all of these things I just showed you. We liked the simple, intuitive geographic presentation of the flow map. We liked the comprehensive county information that, like we had in the table. And we liked the potential for granular analysis offered by the Census Bureau's tool. We think these insights are useful for not just planning transportation infrastructure and managing congestion, but we also think they highlight the economic interconnectedness of our region. So without further ado, I will begin the demo of the tool. This is what it looks like. You can see front and center, we have a map of the combined statistical area. Up here on the top left corner, we have an option where you can select geographies. So we have every county in the combined statistical area that you can select for analysis. We also have every incorporated place. And we have unincorporated counties as well at the bottom. They're sorted alphabetically. Since it's alphabetical, I'll just keep it on Anderson County where it was by default. These yellow dots on the map show where Anderson County residents commute for work. You can see there's a pretty high concentration in Knox County, Anderson County, and in Blount County with considerably fewer people commuting east. The big green dots represent how many commuters from Anderson County commute to each county. So for example, sorry this is so small. If I select the Anderson County green dot, it'll pull up a pop-up that tells you how many people commute within Anderson County. So it's about 13,000 and about 12,500 from Anderson County to Knox County. Whereas I think this is Hamblin up here. You only have 267 people making that commute. This pie chart over here on the left shows the distribution of industries where Anderson County residents are employed. So if I hover over each section, you can see 5,130 workers from Anderson County, or 14.5%, are employed in manufacturing. There's also over here a bunch of numbers I will explain. The combined statistical area movements over here on the top. This number on top shows the number of workers in the combined statistical area who live outside of Anderson County but commute into Anderson County every day. This number shows the converse, which is people who live in Anderson County but commute out. This number here shows the number of people who both live and work in Anderson County. And these numbers on the bottom show the total county movement. So this is people who live not only in the combined statistical area, but it's a nationwide employment count for Anderson County. And this is people who live in Anderson County but are employed anywhere in the nation. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I've
No.
got one.
Yeah.
How do you, do you know how they quantify the work from home telecommuting?
I believe they are just counted in this big number on the bottom, which is people who are employed in Anderson County. That's where their
somewhere.
workplace address is, but they might not necessarily be commuting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm working on a transportation plan for Rowan County
Okay.
and one for also Rowan County and, one of them is Rowan County. And as I mentioned with Doug, I'd like to know how some of those commuting patterns on those roadways will affect or inform the plans that I'm working on. One is actually, one is Rowan, one is Cork County. And I see that you have both
Yes.
on this. So I'll be coming to you to see how any of what you collect for data for commuting on those roadways can inform those plans.
Cool. Thank you.
I wanted to chime in real quick because just wanted a little quick disclaimer. The data is from the census, but the workplace location can get tricky, especially with Oak Ridge lying in two counties, Anderson and Rowan. This is something that's been on an issue for me in the modeling stuff for a long time, because actually Oak Ridge National Lab is in the Rowan County part of Oak Ridge, but it often gets coded in Anderson County because I think the address is like 1 Bethel Valley Road or something, and it all has the same zip code. So that's one thing just to be aware of, is that the data is not totally perfect. You have to take a few things into consideration, because I don't see like the part of Oak Ridge National Lab showing up there that would otherwise. So anyway. Yeah, and the Y12, I wasn't sure exactly which side of the county line, but I think most of it's on Anderson County, maybe.
Yes, these are estimates.
I wanted to say, I think this is a great tool. We get these questions all the time, not only from the mayors, the council people, but citizens call in. Where's this going to be housed at? Is it going to be accessed from the planning website or TPO?
From TPO website.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll have a link to the dashboard there.
Okay. We can send that link out to you when it's ready.
Okay.
So y'all can use it in your, if you're applying for grants or just in your day-to-day use.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Emily. Good work there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So much. Item number 5 is TDOT and FHWA updates. Troy, anything?
Nothing ground shattering. The biggest thing, two things, I'll start one. So with the map up here is great. So all these areas outside of Knoxville and a little bit of Sevierville, TDOT has now launched their rural service patrol. So we see the big yellow trucks that run around Knoxville that help motorists. Well, now all of our interstates are covered, state line to state line, with yellow pickup trucks, extended cab trucks with big arrow boards on them, and this is huge. I mean, this is a big deal. And I'm seeing them quite a bit, so we're very proud of that and looking at that. So as you see them, they go to 10 p.m. at night, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Jump in here if I say anything wrong. Mr. Nagy is with us, and he'll keep me right. But that is so keep an eye out for that. And that was a huge initiative that has been launched.
Troy, I went to Grundy County this weekend and I saw them twice. I passed them on the interstate and they had the rural on their vehicles that said rural patrol.
And just in the short amount of time that they've been active, which has just been a few months, they've had over 4,000 calls that they've received, and they've answered already. And that's statewide. That's not just in Region 1. But they started at the end of May. The only other thing I had, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make sure we introduced all our TDOT staff who is with us today. You keep hearing me talk about Miss Amanda Snowden, who was here, who spoke earlier, our new regional director, made that announcement. Matt Hart's back there somewhere, right beside her. So Matt is our new operations director, and that's what Amanda did previously. Christy Brown is here, and Kristen Qualls are project managers, project management directors. And of course, Mr. Nagy is with us. He's the one who does all the really cool videos and gets all our socials and gets all the information out to everybody. So vital staff, and of course Mr. Schultz is here with us as our PM over the Pell and lots of other fun things that he gets to deal with, like the 275 bridge that goes up in a short amount of time, and a very talented group. Did I get everybody? I can't quite see them, but they're here today for you all. So if you have questions, you have anything you want to talk about, make sure you catch up with them after the meeting and get to know them a little bit. Past that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Good deal. Does Mr. Meservey have an update?
I have a question.
Oh.
The two individuals who are answering questions about the choice lanes, you're not with TDOT?
With H&TD, their program management consultant.
Well, good deal. Appreciate that. Number 6, we got some other business. Doug, you want to go through that?
Yeah, did FHWA have anything? They're on.
Yeah, I actually did. Just real quick, we released about 4 NOFOs within the past week or so. I put the links in the chat, or I will after I finish talking. But they're to do with the nationally significant fed lands, National Culvert Removal Replacement and Restoration Grants, the Type 3 Highway Bridge Replacement Grants, and then the infra grants. And NOFO were just released. So I'll send all those links through the chat. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, other business. Our executive board will be June 24th, and so I know the TDOT folks will be back again and the consultants. We appreciate that. The next technical committee is July 14th. It's our goal probably to cancel that one, but we have it on here until we never know until kind of the last second whether an action item would need to come up, but just kind of give you a warning. There's some couple other things on here about the bridge investment program and planning grants still being available. And then we also list the I-40 Pell study. They'll be doing public meetings. It was on Brad's slide. And the only other thing, I was hoping he was on June 11th from 11 to 4 out at Ethra. So I think it's just one of those things where you stop by and tell him, congratulations. I've worked with Mike for a long time, so I'm both sad to see him go, but happy that he can go on and enjoy his retirement years. He's done a lot of positive things for both transit and rural transit. And I think this year he was also selected into the Transit Association Hall of Fame. So if it's all right with y'all, I'll tell him, I'm going to go out there, but I'll tell him congratulations from the whole tech committee. And then he snuck in, but Brent Gagley is in the back. He is going to be Mike's or Ethra's replacement on the tech committee. I don't know if you were supposed to be up here today or if that takes effect next month. But okay, well, we'll see you up here next time. So I wanted to welcome you to the tech committee. So that's all I have.
Good deal. Sounds like a well-deserved retirement. Item number 7 is public comment. Is there anyone here from the public that'd like to comment to the board or speak to the board? No? No one online either? So, all right. Well, there we go. Item number 8 is adjournment. Can I have a motion? All right, we're adjourned.